Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commander's Forge. We're back after last week being a really hard mental week for me. So here we go again. My name is Andy Bentley. I'm the host of the Commander's Forge, and let's face it, I am a broken man. But I'm doing better. So, as I believe I said last week, I'm very broke right now. I still have like 400 and something to pay on the car to finish paying for the repairs. Car insurance comes out this week, and let's not even begin to talk about gas prices. But I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it work. I actually just got back not too long ago from my LGS, which I didn't go to play. I went to sell them some cards. And graciously, they did buy some, but they were also having money issues because apparently something got messed up with their order to their distributor. So I hope they get that resolved. But, so I did get roped into one game up there, and, I had a good time, but it, just looking at this week coming up, it's gonna be rough, and after this week, most stuff is paid off, and we should be okay. At most, I might have to take a small loan from a family member and pay them back on Friday. But for the most part, I should be good. And, afford groceries again. But for now, we're just gonna kind of keep our head down and hope absolutely nothing else goes wrong before the middle of July. Because, once again, come hell or high water, I'm going to Command Fest Indianapolis. And I'm not entirely sure what decks I'm going to bring yet, but I'm thinking about a few. And I'm thinking about a few that I don't want to bring. But I do know one deck that will definitely be going with me. And honestly, it might be all of them at this point. Would be Linden. Because Linden has kind of become the Andy Bentley special. Yeah, I think that's basically it. Just the little update. My personal world is ending again. Yeah. So I'm just gonna keep my head down and make it through the week. Because, yeah, good times. Had by all. Gotta love crippling debt, right? But I'll be right back. Hey, I just want to take a minute to tell you about my Patreon. I know times are hard for everybody, and I know it isn't easy to shuffle around bills and stuff. Believe me, I know that. But if you would like to help support the podcast and me, you can find the links to my Patreon in my link tree, which is always put into the description of either the video or the audio, wherever you're listening to it. It would really mean the world to me. Honestly, I'm just struggling to make ends meet most weeks. But that's it. That's all. If you want to help, the links will be where you can find them. And we're back. Alright, folks. Now, for today's second part of the episode, we're going to talk about a deck I built. I wasn't necessarily a big fan of Nuka Penna, and that's amazing considering how many commanders I've built around people from New Capenna. But as the set as a whole just didn't really hold me. But the latest in the New Capenna stuff that I've kind of built around, we have Henzi Toolbox Tori. He is a 3/3 Devil Rogue for a black, a red, and a green. And each creature spell you cast with mana value 4 or greater has Blitz. The Blitz cost is equal to its mana cost. And then Blitz cost you pay costs 1 less for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. So casting him once makes all of your creatures cost 1 less. And every subsequent time after that, it reduces it by 1. But I kind of wanted to get around the whole when you cast it thing. So I looked for a couple of things that were going to allow me to cast things from different places. The first one that came to mind, which actually my cousin also recommended to me when I said I was kind of thinking about this deck, is Chainer Nightmare Adept. He's a 3/2 human minion for 2, a black and a red. But the important bit is you can discard a card, which will then allow you to cast a creature spell from your graveyard this turn, activate only once per turn. And whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste until your next turn. So with Henzi out, with Chainer out, you can pitch whatever card is in your hand you don't need, and then blitz a creature out of your graveyard, attack with it, or do whatever you're going to do with it. It gets sacrificed and replaces the card that you pitched by drawing you a card off the blitz trigger. Now, I also kind of thought this deck's going to be sacrificing a lot of its own creatures, so I wanted something like Jury, Master of the Review, which is a 1/1 human shaman for a black and a red. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Jury, Master of the Review. And then when Jury dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So, again, this is one of those ones like, hey, maybe we're just going to blitz him out and sack a bunch of stuff, and then at the end of turn, he's going to die, draw a card, deal a bunch of damage. Or he sticks around and just picks up counters for creatures dying. Yeah. But back to that first topic of casting cards. Vizier of the Menagerie is a 3/4 Naga Cleric for 3 and a green that says you may look at the top card of your library, and you may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast creature spells. So it helps fix your mana for creatures. It allows you to look at the top of your library, and if you have a creature there, you can cast it, which means you can blitz it off the top of your deck, which will then also allow you to draw a card when it dies. You can still look at the top card, and if it's another creature, you can blitz that one. It's all around going to be good with Henzi out. And then the whole casting it from the top sounded like a good idea. So we have Bolas's Citadel, which is a legendary artifact for 3 black. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than pay its mana cost, and you can tap it and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents, so each opponent loses 10 life. That does not come up very often, but with Henzi out, again, you can blitz the creatures off the top of your deck and not pay any mana for them. You can just dump your life total into whatever creature you want. Now, this deck really wants you to have things that also have enter the battlefield abilities. Things like Entomber Exarch, which is 2 black for a 2/2 cleric. When it enters the battlefield, you either return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or an opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-creature card from it. That player discards the card. This is in here to get something back from the graveyard that I had previously blitzed. Brutalizer Exarch is 5 and a green for a 3/3 cleric. When Brutalizer Exarch enters the battlefield, you either search your library for a creature card, reveal it, shuffle your library, put that card on top of it, or put target non-creature permanent on the bottom of its owner's library. So the trick here is when you blitz this out, it then puts the next creature on top that you're going to draw when it dies to have something to blitz again. Rakshasa Debaser is 4 black for a 6/6 cat demon. When the Debaser attacks, put target creature card from defending player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It has Encore for 6 black. So, the fun thing with the Debaser, if you blitz it out, it has haste. That's kind of the biggest downfall of this, is you want to be able to swing with it immediately. Then when it does go to the graveyard, if you don't have another way to get it back, you can just make 3 copies of it and get 3 more permanents from your opponents. Yeah. But I realized building the deck, we're going to want to reuse creatures. So things like Charnel Horde Worm, which is 4 black, red, green for a 6/6 worm with trample. Whenever it deals damage to an opponent, you may return target card from your graveyard to your hand. I just realized this does not say combat damage. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, it's just, we wanted to lean into a lot of utility. Things that are going to do things are kind of where I put the focus. Kind of like Doomweaver. 4 black for a 1/8 spider horror with reach and soulbound. And as long as Doomweaver is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has, when this creature dies, draw cards equal to its power. The way Soulbond works is you can bond with any creature that enters the battlefield. So every creature that you blitz out soul bonds with the spider, attacks, dies at the end of the turn. You draw the card from the blitz, and you draw cards equal to its power. Stalking Vengeance is 5 red for a 5/5 avatar with haste, and whenever another creature you control dies, it deals damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker. Again, every creature that we blitz attacks, hits somebody, and then dies, and then hits somebody because of it. Tenacious Underdog has just kind of been performing well for me. It's 1 and a black for a 3/2 human warrior, but it has blitz for 2 black and pay 2 life, and you may cast Tenacious Underdog from your graveyard using its blitz ability. So the main reason it's here is because it can get itself out of the graveyard and doesn't need another piece to do it. Solemn Simulacrum, because it's a 4-drop. It's gonna come in, get a land, and then die and draw 2 cards. And then I want to talk about some big boys. Myosian of Roaring Blades. 5 red for a 7/4 spirit. Myosian of Roaring Blades enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter if you cast it from your hand. So no off-the-top shenanigans. But you can remove the indestructible counter from the Myosian to have it deal 7 damage to each of up to 3 targets. So, if you blitz this, it comes in, hits somebody for 7 with haste, and then dies and hits everybody for 7. Myosian of Grim Betrayal. 5 black, black, black for a 5/2 spirit. Myosian of Grim Betrayal has the same thing, the indestructible counter as long as you cast it from your hand. And when you remove the indestructible counter from the Myosian, put onto the battlefield under your control all creature cards in all graveyards that were put from anywhere this turn. So ideally, we want the Myosian out without Blitz and sitting and waiting for a turn when we blitz 4 or 5 creatures out, and we're just going to be able to get all of those back, plus anything that our opponents are going to block with. But there's also a fun interaction with things like Persist. So Woodfall Primus, 5 green, 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 for a 6/6 Treefolk Shaman with Trample. When Woodfall Primus enters the battlefield, or comes into play, old templating, destroy target non-creature permanent, but it has Persist. So, if we blitz the Primus out, it enters, gets rid of something, swings for 6, dies, draws us a card, re-enters, and gets rid of something else. Cavalier of Night is 2 black, black, black for a 4/5 elemental knight with lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy a creature an opponent controls. And when it dies, return target creature card with a converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yes, we do have some creatures in here that are below 4 mana. But then, I think the last creature I want to talk about is Ruthless Technomancer. 3 and a black for a 2/4 human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, create a number of treasure tokens equal to that creature's power, and then you can pay 2 and a black and sacrifice X artifacts. Return target creature card with power X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. X can't be 0. And this does fun stuff with lots of stuff. Say we have the Debaser out and we attack with it, get something of theirs. It's going to go away with the Blitz trigger anyway. Play the Technomancer, sacrifice the Debaser, draw the card from the Debaser dying, and then the next turn, if we don't have anything better to do, we just pay the 3, sacrifice the 6 treasures, and bring him back. Yeah. Now, let's talk about, the graveyard. Because we are going to be pretty heavily looking at getting things back from our graveyard. But sometimes it's kind of better just to get it back to our hand. So we have something like Revive the Fallen. It's 1 and a black for a sorcery. Return target creature card in a graveyard to its owner's hand. Clash with an opponent. Now what that means is you and an opponent each reveal the top card of your library. Whoever has the higher converted mana cost wins. And if you win, return Revive the Fallen to its owner's hand. The thing with this deck is there is a lot of very high mana cost stuff in here. But we also have things like Return to Action. 1 and a black for an instant. Till end of turn, target creature gets +1/+0 lifelink. And when this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So again, we blitz something out. We hit it with a Return to Action. We gain some life. It dies. Draws us a card. Comes back. Now, one I'm actually really excited about is Midnight Recovery. It's 3 and a black for a sorcery that just says return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. But where I like this over some other stuff is it has Cipher, which is not something I think we're ever going to see again. But you exile the spell card and code it onto a creature you control. And then whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, the controller may cast a copy of the encoded card without paying its mana cost. So as long as we encode this on something that's going to stick around, we will constantly be able to get cards back from our graveyard. And then we have, I think the last one we're going to talk about today. Journey to Eternity is 1, a black and a green for a enchantment aura. Enchanted creature you control. When the enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. Then return Journey to Eternity to the battlefield transformed under your control. So again, you blitz something out. You spend the 3 to attach this. So at the end of the turn, when the creature dies, you draw a card. It comes back tapped. And you get Etzal Cave of Eternity. It's a legendary land. It taps for 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, or you can pay 3 green black and tap it to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Right. Now, clearly when I do my little deck techs, I'm not doing an exhaustive deck tech. I'm not going over, 60 some cards and lands. And that's just kind of the way I like to do things. Kind of like how I don't necessarily like to do like full reviews of sets, because there's plenty of other places you can get that. And let's face it, I'm just a little nobody over here. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today. I am doing better than last week. I am still not doing great. But I will get through this. I will be in Indianapolis. And yeah, just be kind to each other. And I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulpey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.